I want to talk to you guys about the strike that was carried out by the IDF last night, as well as how our government is moving us closer and closer to World War III. I'm going to share some resources at the end and some places that you can donate. Even if you're unable to financially contribute, there are still other ways that you can help. So please watch the videos in their entirety and share the information and resources with those that you know. As many of you may know, there was an airstrike carried out by the IDF last night on the Jabalia refugee camp. The Israeli military said that the attack on the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza killed senior Hamas commander Ibrahim Biari, who they said was an architect of the October 7th terror attack that left more than 1,400 people dead in Israel across kibbutzim, at a music festival, and throughout the nation's south, with hundreds more taken hostage. Now, the IDF is claiming that they killed this guy. Tonight, we eliminated the murderous terrorist Ibrahim Biari, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said. But Hamas is denying it. Hamas has denied that any of its leadership was in Jabalia at the time of the strike, which they said destroyed at least 20 homes. NBC News has not independently verified Biari's death. Footage of the aftermath of the attack showed hundreds of anguished people clambering in and out of what appears to be several giant craters and struggling to find buried victims. "My 3 kids are gone, my kids. No one is alive," one despondent man named Jabbar could be heard saying as his friends try to console him. A doctor, I don't want to try to say his name and then botch it, director of a nearby Indonesian hospital, said that the total number of people wounded or killed is about 400. Now we're going to go to Wolf Blitzer. And I need you guys to understand that Wolf Blitzer is as pro-APAC, pro-military, IDF, Israel government as you can be. And even he is not buying the level of bullshit that is about to come out of this guy's mouth.
Senior Commander Wolf, I will be updating you with more data as the hour moves ahead.
But even if that Hamas commander was there amidst all those Palestinian refugees who are in that Jabalia refugee camp, Israel still went ahead and dropped a bomb there, attempting to kill this Hamas commander, knowing that a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, presumably would be killed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
That's not what you're hearing, Wolf. We're focused on this commander, again, who you'll get more data who this man was. We're still looking into it, and we'll give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
We need to go through this one by one because it's very important that you guys understand how and the ways that these ghouls are lying. You'll notice that Wolf keeps asking him the same question over and over again, like, you know that there are women and children there, right? Because even he cannot believe this guy's answering this way. So Blitzer is like, wait, so you struck this refugee camp knowing that there were going to be a lot of innocent civilians that died. Am I hearing that right? And then he goes, no, that's not what you're hearing. And then goes on to explain that that's exactly what he's hearing. He then lies again and says, we're doing everything we can to minimize civilian casualties. No, you're not. You're literally not. In fact, over 8,000 people who are civilians that are innocent have been slaughtered in Gaza. How much more do you want? How many more innocent civilians have to die? Because you know what? I don't believe, and I know this is just my opinion, but I don't believe that it is accidental. I believe they are purposefully targeting civilians, even if the Hamas commander was down there. Why would you target that many civilians just to get one guy? And how do you know you got him? You did an airstrike. You didn't go in there with boots on the ground. That gets to the next part, and the next part is so amazing because he literally lies in one breath.
You knew there were civilians there. You knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet. There'll be more updated. Yes, we know that he was killed.
What?
About the civilians there, we're doing everything we can to minimize.
He says at first, oh, we haven't confirmed if we killed the commander yet. And then in that same fucking breath says, oh, wait, no, we did. It's unfucking real. It's unfucking real. Oh, no, we have not confirmed it yet. Oh, wait, yeah, we did.
You know that there are a lot of refugees, a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children in that refugee camp as well, right?
This is the tragedy of war, Wolf. I mean, as you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians are not involved with Hamas. Please move south.
Listen, this is just the price of war, okay? That is horse shit. That is horse shit. You do not carpet bomb and carry out mass airstrikes on a small strip of land with a ton of innocent civilians if you were really trying to do targets against Hamas. You do that if you either don't care how many civilians you wipe out or you're doing it on purpose. They have yet to provide any proof that this commander was killed. They also have failed to provide any proof that that a lot of the Hamas leaders are even still in Gaza. There have been many reports, many credible reports, that a lot of the Hamas leaders that planned the terrorist attack are not even there. They're in Russia, they're in Qatar. And then the next lie where he says, listen, as we've been saying for days, if you are not a terrorist, head south. Which is another demonstrable fucking lie because they are bombing everywhere, okay? They're not just bombing northern Gaza. They're not doing targeted strikes. Even the civilians that have taken their advice and started to go south, they're bombing them too. You're claiming that you're just trying to target Hamas because of the vicious terrorist attack they carried out on October 7th of innocent civilians. And then you turn around and say, you know what? I know what we're going to do. We're going to respond to that by indiscriminately bombing and doing an ethnic cleansing of all the people on the Gaza Strip, killing like 10 times the amount of civilians that were killed on October 7th. What does that make you? That's what I want to know. What does that make you? They're terrorists. Hamas are terrorists. And what does that make you when you are bombing innocent civilians at 10 times the rate? It makes you terrorists. You, the IDF. These people are not just liars. They are vicious liars. They are malicious liars. Reporting has shown that 60% of the people that have been killed have been women and children. And they are doing this with our tax dollars. There is no fucking way that Israel would be able to be carrying out these attacks on innocent Palestinian civilians if it were not for the money of the United States. And I know that a lot of Americans are horrified and disgusted by that, and that we feel helpless that we can do anything about it. And that's honestly not an illegitimate feeling, especially because we don't control our own government. I think a lot of people that don't pay attention to foreign policy or politics may be surprised that they feel so helpless. We don't control our own government, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't pay attention to the way people are voting. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep trying to put pressure on the government. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep calling our Congress people. Find out who your congressperson is and relentlessly call them. Call them and demand that they call for a ceasefire. Call them and demand that they vote no on the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we are getting ready to send to the Israeli government. We need to understand that Netanyahu is a genocidal fascist. He has no interest in de-escalating this. He has a lot of interest in escalating it because it's easier to preserve your political power that way. He is bloodthirsty as fuck, and he has spent years trying to consolidate power for himself and propping up Hamas in order to disempower the authorities in the West Bank. He said himself that having Hamas around was good because it would always keep the Palestinian people divided and prevent them from establishing their own state. You also need to understand how correlated this is to the military-industrial complex. You need to understand how much the warhawks in Washington, D.C. have wanted war with Iran for decades. That is the reason why they so vehemently oppose the JCPOA. That is the reason why they immediately removed the U.S. from it once Trump got in office. And you are mistaken if you think that this is not barreling toward World War III. They're already carrying out strikes against Lebanon. The Houthis from Yemen are now getting involved. This is why it may seem unrelated, but is not unrelated, that people who vote here in the US should give a fuck about the fact that our politicians invest in personal stocks. So many Americans don't give a fuck about what goes on in Congress and don't care that they invest in personal stocks. But here's the problem with that. When you're investing in personal stocks, when you're allowed to do insider trading, which is fucking illegal, but we allow it, guess what happens? Your incentives go to making money in the stock market. And now we've got all of our politicians suddenly upping their investments in defense contractors. This is exactly like right before COVID happened and it got revealed that a bunch of them invested in tech stocks and health company stocks. Go look at the kind of stocks that these motherfuckers are investing in right now. They are literally investing in arms stocks while they will be voting on war. I cannot impress upon you how fucking important this is. Along with calling them every single day, multiple times a day to tell them to demand a ceasefire, you also should be calling them and demanding that they bring up legislation now, not yesterday, now, banning members of Congress from being able to trade stocks, banning them from being able to invest in arms when they are voting on fucking matters of life and death and war. They do not work for us. They work for their donors and the elites and the corporations, which is why I know it's discouraging that they don't give a fuck about what we think. They're sitting pretty up there making all their money off the blood of other people, being like, yeah, go have your little cute protest, Americans. Go have your little cute protest. They're not afraid of us, but they should be. And no, I don't mean violence, so don't take that out of context. I mean they need to be afraid of our collective power, because this is a fucking catastrophe, and it's only going to get worse. In fact, I think there actually already has been legislation that's been brought up in the Senate to ban Congress from being able to trade on the stock market and invest in stocks while they are serving. Serving, lol. While you are calling your congresspeople every single day to demand a ceasefire, also demand that they bring that legislation up for a vote and vote on it. This is not only incredibly important for this, but once you understand the way that these people are incentivized to vote in certain ways because they are making money off of it, then you will understand why this type of legislation is so important. We are numb to it because we are so used to the fact that our country is so fucking corrupt, but this is not normal. It is not normal for a person to go into Congress middle class and then suddenly become worth 350 mil. And do not tell me that they are not purposefully targeting civilians when they have bombed the Jabalia refugee camp for a second time in 2 days.
Military officials are saying today, and they've been saying for weeks, that they really don't see distinction between militia and militants and civilians. And this is the huge problem because it's creating mass radicalization around the Middle East, and it's triggering actors like Iran and others, militias who are now declaring war not only on Israel, but also on the United States, as we've seen yesterday from the militias, the Houthis in Yemen. And this is really a dangerous moment that can lead, America to become part of this war.
That is exactly what so many of them want. So let's talk about some ways that you can help besides calling your congresspeople relentlessly. Pause to screenshot. This is a list of organizations that you can donate to. I don't see Doctors Without Borders on here, but that's another one that you can donate to. Jewish Voices for Peace is a great organization. They have lots of resources. They will help you walk through how to contact your congress member if you do not know how, among other things. And if you're looking to learn more about this so that you understand and can help weed through the lies and propaganda, go to this website, decolonizepalestine.com. You can even contact their info site if you have specific questions that maybe you didn't see in their FAQ. These resources are very important, especially since there are so many people lying. It's important to understand these facts so you can combat misinformation. And please, do not be overconfident. None of us are immune to propaganda. Be careful what you are reading. Fact check, be careful what you are spreading and saying. There are people really out here paying content creators to say things in favor of the Israeli government. And I've seen so many people be like, it doesn't matter what side they're defending, being like, you can't fool us anymore because we have the internet now. Just be careful with that attitude, because you don't think that just because we have TikTok now, that there aren't layers and layers of sophisticated bullshit that they're using to target people exactly in the mediums they use. With every generation of new technology comes new ways to disseminate propaganda. We have AI and deepfakes now. So please, be careful, be diligent, and free Palestine.